வணக்கம். In my previous video, we have seen what is the meaning of truncated check very specifically. Now we are going to see what is check and what are all the related terms, particularly related to validity of the check and dishonor of the check. First, what is check? A check is an unconditional order in writing drawn on a particular bank and is always payable on demand. This cash amount is to be paid to the person mentioned therein or order or the bearer. Signature is mandatory and it should be only by the maker. The maker refers the person who is drawing or who is writing or who is giving the check. The amount is always a certain sum of money and the payment of the check is made in the form of cash on the specified date mentioned in the check. The amount paid cannot exceed the amount mentioned in it. The banker pays the amount after verifying all the requirements. Now, what is the meaning of ostensible date? The date which is mentioned in the check is called ostensible date. This will be mentioned in the face of the check. Antedated and post-dated check. The check may be antedated or post-dated. A check is given by mentioning a previous date from the date of drawing it. That is, the check is given for the previous date. That date will be mentioned in the check. That is called antedated check. And if the check is drawn on a future date from the date of drawing it, it is called post-dated check. That is, if a check is given for a future date, it is called post-dated check. And what is the meaning of stale check? It refers the invalid check due to the expiry of time. Previously, the check is valid for 6 months from the ostensible date. We already saw the meaning of ostensible date. Revised validity period of checks, drafts, pay orders, and bankers' checks are given as per RBI guidelines. As per RBI guidelines, with effect from April 1, 2012, the validity period of checks, demands, drafts, pay orders, and bankers' checks will be reduced from 6 months to 3 months from the date of issue of the instrument. Now, what is the meaning of bounced check? When the payee presents a check to the bank for payment and the check is returned unpaid by the bank due to insufficient funds, then the check is said to be or said to have bounced. In such case, the payee of the check can issue a check bounce notice to the drawer demanding to pay the check amount as per the law. A bounce check is a criminal offense in India and can be made punishable for 2 years. Dishonored check. Dishonor of check is a condition in which the bank refuses to pay the amount of check to the payee. The reason may be if the check is overwritten, if the signature is absent or the signature in the check does not match with the specimen signature kept by the bank. if the name of the payee is absent or not clearly written, if the amount written in words and figures does not match with each other, if the account number is not mentioned clearly or is altogether absent, if the drawer orders the bank to stop payment on the check, if the court of law has given an order to the bank to stop payment on the check, if the drawer has closed the account before presenting the check, if the fund in the bank account is insufficient to meet the payment of the check, if the bank receives the information regarding the death or lunacy or insolvency of the drawer of the check, if any alteration made on the check is not proved by the drawer by giving his or her signature, if the date is not mentioned or written incorrectly or is stale check. There might be some other reasons also. Thank you.